Across California, the most expensive infrastructure project in American history is slowly taking shape.
$100 billion over budget and decades behind schedule.
The California high-speed rail was supposed to connect LA to San Francisco in under 3 hours, traveling at speeds of 220 miles an hour. But here's what most people don't realize about this $100 billion mega project. After 15 years of construction and countless delays, only 119 miles of track have been completed in the middle of nowhere.
Cost overruns, the delays, the mismanagement, the unrealistic ridership numbers.
Yet, this represents America's attempt to join the ranks of nations that have mastered high-speed rail and the engineering challenges that make building bullet trains in the U.S. unlike anywhere else in the world.
By any objective measure, high-speed rail has been a disaster.
Today, we're diving deep into the most ambitious transportation project in U.S. history to understand why building high-speed rail in America is so incredibly difficult, and whether this rail dream will ever become reality.
Hopefully, this will be the beginning of the end for high-speed rail.
When California voters approved Proposition 1A in 2008, they were sold a vision that seemed almost too good to be true. A high-speed rail system that would whisk passengers from downtown LA to downtown San Francisco in 2 hours and 40 minutes, all for a total cost of $33 billion. The promise was intoxicating. Imagine boarding a sleek train in LA and arriving in San Francisco faster than you could drive to San Diego. The project was modeled after successful high-speed rail systems in Japan, France, and Spain. The Japanese Shinkansen has been operating since 1964 without a single passenger fatality. France's TGV regularly hit speeds of 200 miles an hour while carrying millions of passengers annually. If other countries could build these systems, why couldn't America? But California's planners underestimated the unique challenges of building high-speed rail in the United States. Unlike Japan or France, where high-speed rail was built on government-owned land with strong federal support, California's system would have to navigate a complex web of private property rights, environmental regulations, and local opposition that simply doesn't exist in other countries. The original timeline called for the first segment to open by 2020. With the full system operational by 2028. The budget was set at $33 billion, funded through state bonds and federal grants. Politicians promised that ticket sales would eventually make the system profitable, reducing the need for ongoing subsidies. But here's the engineering reality. High-speed rail requires completely reimagining how railways work. Trains traveling at 220 miles per hour need tracks that are straighter, flatter, and more precisely engineered than anything in the American rail network. Traditional freight railways in the U.S. can handle grades of up to 3%, but high-speed rail requires grades of less than 1.5%. Curves that work fine for 60-mile-per-hour freight trains become impossible at 220 miles an hour. The centrifugal forces would either derail the train or make passengers violently sick. This means that California's high-speed rail couldn't simply upgrade existing tracks. It needed an entirely new railway built from scratch. The system requires over 400 miles of new track, 100 grade separations to eliminate road crossings, and dozens of viaducts and tunnels to maintain the precise geometry needed for high-speed operation. The trains themselves are marvels of engineering. Each train set weighs about 380 tons and uses regenerative braking to feed electricity back into the grid when slowing down. The aerodynamic design reduces air resistance, while active suspension systems keep passengers comfortable at high speeds. These represent completely different machines from traditional Amtrak trains. Faced with the complexity of building through dense urban areas, California made a controversial decision: start construction in the Central Valley, the agricultural heartland between LA and San Francisco. The logic seemed sound. Land was cheaper, environmental challenges were fewer, and construction could begin immediately. But this decision created what critics call a train to nowhere. The initial 119-mile segment runs from Merced to Bakersfield, connecting two cities that most Californians have never visited. Without connections to major population centers, this segment can't generate meaningful ridership or revenue. The Central Valley construction has revealed the true complexity of the project. What looked like flat, empty farmland on maps turned out to be crisscrossed with irrigation canals, utility lines, and property boundaries that required extensive negotiation. Environmental reviews identified endangered species habitats that needed protection, adding years to the timeline. Workers have had to build massive viaducts to cross the San Joaquin River and other waterways while maintaining flood capacity. The Fresno River Viaduct alone is over 3,000 feet long and required innovative construction techniques to minimize environmental impact. These structures are engineering marvels, but they've also driven costs far beyond original estimates. The real test of California's high-speed rail lies in the urban segments that haven't been built yet. Getting trains into downtown Los Angeles and San Francisco require threading the needle through some of the most expensive and densely developed real estate in America. In Los Angeles, the planned route must navigate through neighborhoods where property values exceed $1 million an acre. The system needs to connect with existing transit networks while avoiding displacement of low-income communities. Environmental justice concerns have added layers of review and community engagement that weren't anticipated in the original timeline. The San Francisco Bay Area presents even greater challenges. The route must cross the San Francisco Bay, requiring either a new bridge or tunnel that could cost $20 billion by itself. Seismic considerations add another layer of complexity. The system has to be designed to withstand major earthquakes while maintaining passenger safety. Tunneling through the Tehachapi and San Gabriel mountain ranges presents engineering challenges comparable to the world's most difficult railway projects. The tunnels must maintain precise grades while dealing with unstable geology and groundwater issues. Some sections require tunneling through solid granite, while others gotta navigate through earthquake fault zones. To understand California's struggles, it's worth examining how other countries have successfully built high-speed rail. Japan's Shinkansen was built in the 1960s when the government could acquire land through eminent domain with minimal opposition. The entire 320-mile Tokyo-Osaka line was completed in just 5 years. China has built over 25,000 miles of high-speed rail since 2007, more than the rest of the world combined. But China's approach involves relocating entire communities with little consultation and environmental review processes that would be impossible in democratic societies. European high-speed rail benefits from dense populations and shorter distances between major cities. The 180-mile London-Paris route via the Channel Tunnel serves markets of 9 million and 12 million people respectively. California's Central Valley segment serves markets a fraction of that size. Spain's high-speed rail network, often cited as a model for California, was built with massive European Union subsidies and strong national government support. The Spanish system also benefits from relatively flat terrain and fewer property rights complications than exist in California. So while California struggled with construction, high-speed rail technology has continued advancing. Modern systems use magnetic levitation, advanced signaling systems, and artificial intelligence to optimize operations. In fact, Japan's newest Shinkansen trains can operate safely at speeds up to 200 miles per hour even during earthquakes. California's system is being designed with some of the most advanced technology available. The trains will use positive train control systems that can automatically stop trains to prevent collisions. Advanced weather monitoring will allow operations during conditions that would shut down other transportation modes. The electrical systems are designed to use renewable energy, with solar panels and wind turbines providing power for train operations. Regenerative braking systems will feed electricity back into the grid, making the system more energy efficient than airlines or automobiles. The financial challenges of California's high-speed rail go beyond simple cost overruns, though. The project was conceived during the 2008 financial crisis, when construction costs were relatively low. Since then, material costs have increased dramatically, and skilled construction workers have become pretty scarce. And on top of that, labor costs in California are among the highest in the nation, driven by prevailing wage requirements and union agreements. Environmental mitigation also adds significant expenses. The project must purchase carbon credits, create wildlife habitats, and fund community improvements to offset construction impacts. And the funding model has also proven problematic. Federal grants have been inconsistent, forcing the state to rely heavily on bond financing that increases long-term costs. Cap and trade revenue from California's carbon pricing system provides some funding, but these revenues fluctuate with carbon prices and economic conditions. And ridership projections have also been repeatedly revised downward as analysts better understand travel patterns and competition from airlines and ride-sharing services. The COVID-19 pandemic further complicated projections by demonstrating that business travel might permanently decline due to remote work and video conferencing. And there's also a political dimension. High-speed rail has become a political football in California and national politics. Supporters see it as essential infrastructure for addressing climate change and reducing highway congestion. Critics view it as a vanity project that diverts resources from more pressing transportation needs. And changes in political leadership have repeatedly altered the project's direction and funding. Federal support has varied dramatically between different presidential administrations, creating uncertainty that makes long-term planning pretty difficult. Local politics also have complicated construction. Cities along the route have demanded design changes to minimize impacts on their communities. These changes often improve the final product, but add years to environmental review and design processes. The project has become a symbol in broader debates about government competence and the role of public investment in infrastructure. Success or failure here will influence public support for future megaprojects across the entire country. Despite the challenges, California's high-speed rail is pioneering several engineering innovations that could benefit future projects. The system's earthquake-resistant design includes base isolation systems and flexible connections that allow structures to move during seismic events without any damage. Advanced construction techniques are being used to minimize environmental impacts too. Precast concrete segments are manufactured off-site and assembled using precision equipment that reduces construction time and improves the quality. Noise barriers use innovative materials that provide sound reduction while allowing wildlife movement. The project's environmental mitigation efforts are creating new models for large infrastructure projects. Habitat restoration programs are creating wildlife corridors that just didn't exist before construction began. Water conservation measures are reducing agricultural water use while maintaining crop production. And California's experience offers valuable lessons for other countries considering high-speed rail projects too. The importance of securing stable, long-term funding before beginning construction simply cannot be overstated. Political consensus across multiple election cycles is also essential for projects of this scale and duration. Environmental and community engagement, while time-consuming, ultimately produces better projects with stronger public support. The alternative, which is forcing projects through without adequate consultation, often leads to greater delays and cost when opposition emerges later. The technical challenges of high-speed rail in seismically active regions are being solved through California's project. These solutions would benefit future projects in earthquake-prone areas around the world. Current plans call for completing the Central Valley segment by 2030, with extensions to Los Angeles and San Francisco following in the 2030s. The total cost is now estimated at over $100 billion. But project officials argue that this investment will pay dividends for generations. Recent progress has been encouraging. Construction is accelerating as contractors gain experience with the specialized techniques required for high-speed rail. Supply chain issues that plagued early construction are being resolved through better planning and domestic sourcing. The Biden administration has renewed federal support for high-speed rail, providing additional funding and regulatory streamlining. This support could accelerate construction and reduce costs by providing more predictable financing. While California struggles with its first high-speed rail line, other countries continue expanding their networks. China is developing trains that can operate at 250 miles per hour in commercial service. Japan is building a magnetic levitation line that'll cut Tokyo-Osaka travel time to just over 1 hour. So, the United States risks falling further behind in transportation technology if high-speed rail projects continue to face delays and cost overruns. Success in California could catalyze similar projects in other regions, while failure might set back American high-speed rail for decades. Private companies are also entering the high-speed rail market. Brightline is building a high-speed connection between Las Vegas and Los Angeles using private financing. Texas Central is developing a Dallas-Houston route using Japanese technology and expertise. So, will America's $100 billion rail dream ever be finished? The technical challenges are solvable. Engineers around the world have proven that high-speed rail can work in diverse geographic and climatic conditions. The financial challenges are manageable with sustained political commitment and innovative funding mechanisms. The real question is whether American society has the patience and political will to see such a long-term project through to completion. High-speed rail requires thinking in decades, not election cycles. It demands sustained investment even when progress seems slow and costs seem high. California's high-speed rail represents more than a transportation project. It's a test of America's ability to build the infrastructure needed for the 21st century. Success would demonstrate that the United States can still undertake the kind of ambitious projects that defined previous generations. Failure would suggest that American governance has become too fragmented and short-term focused for truly transformative infrastructure investment. So all we can say is the next few years are going to be critical. If the Central Valley segment opens successfully and demonstrates the potential of high-speed rail, public support could build for completing the full system. If delays and cost overruns continue, political support could collapse, leaving California with an expensive reminder of what might have been. So, what do you think about America's high-speed rail ambitions? Do you believe this represents the kind of long-term infrastructure investment the country needs, or are there just better ways to improve transportation? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.